detected. In my location. Heavily armored hostile detected. Detecting additional hostile contacts. Incoming hostiles detected.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Division 2 video. So, in today's video, I'm going to showcase a super hard-hitting Hunter's Fury build with great survivability. So you will basically have the best of both worlds with this build. Survivability and damage. Like, this build hits like a tow truck, but it will require a more aggressive playstyle since it's an SMG build. But since this build is so powerful, it works really well for clearing heroic difficulty content. So like control points, bounties, missions, so on and so forth. And this build will also be great for beginners because you don't need a crazy high expertise level or have to waste time grinding away at the game to set this build up. It's a simple Hunter's Fury build that packs a serious punch. In fact, the SMG that I was using with this build in the gameplay footage at the beginning hasn't been upgraded at all. Yet I was reaching over 1 million critical hit damage periodically. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so I'm gonna break down the gear pieces first and I'll get to the weapons right after because when it comes to the weapon, you do have several options. So since this is a 4-piece Hunter's Fury build, I have all the bonuses unlocked. And just real quick, for anyone new or returning who may not know, Hunter's Fury is a gear set that's basically designed for aggressive players. So it's an in-your-face, up-close and personal, heavy damage build, so to speak, right? So therefore, the bonuses you get from having 2 pieces will grant you 15% shotgun and SMG damage. And for 3 pieces, you get 20% armor on kill, as well as 50% health on kill, which helps a bit with survivability. And by having 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury equipped, you will be unlocking the gear set talent Apex Predator. And what this talent does, for those who are new or returning, this talent will basically amplify your weapon damage by 20% to all enemies within 15 meters. So this is why you're gonna see much better results using either a shotgun or an SMG since these are close-range weapons. Now, what also makes Hunter's Fury even more powerful is the additional amplified weapon damage you get when you kill a debuffed enemy with your weapon. Like, not only will this cause other enemies within 5 meters to get disoriented, but it will also be increasing your weapon damage by 5% for 10 seconds, and this stacks up to 5 times. So this Apex Predator talent is the main contributing factor to this build's insane damage. And for the attributes on the mask, maxed out armor, critical hit damage, and a maxed crit hit damage mod. Now for the chest piece, 1 piece of the Sokolov brand set for the 10% SMG damage. The attribute rolls are pretty low since I haven't had the chance to optimize this piece yet, but for the talent, I chose to go with Intimidate since I'm using the Memento Exotic Backpack. And the Memento Backpack is a really good piece to use with the Intimidate talent because it actually activates Intimidate. And for those who may be new or confused, no worries because I'll show you how this works. So if you take a look at the Intimidate talent, you actually need to have bonus armor in order for it to proc, right? So while you have bonus armor, you will gain 1 stack each second up to a max of 9. And if you take a look at the kill confirm talent on the Memento Backpack, enemies you kill drop a trophy. And by collecting these trophies, you will get bonus armor as well as a short and long-term buff. And so now, the bonus armor you get from collecting these trophies will last for 10 seconds with the short-term buff. And since this build has 4 blue core attributes, I will be getting 40% bonus armor for each trophy I collect, which is a decent amount. And if you're wondering how I got that number, well, just take this percentage here and times it by whatever number of core attributes you have. So since I also have 3 red core attributes, I will be getting 15% weapon damage as well. Because if you take a look over here, you get 5% weapon damage for each red core you have. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Just keep in mind that collecting each trophy will reset this 10-second timer. So you don't have to wait for the timer to end. You can just keep collecting trophies and stacking up bonus armor. And since this buff lasts for 10 seconds, it's perfect because if you take a look at the Intimidate talent, remember that after 9 seconds, you will have max Intimidate stacks since you gain a stack for each second you have bonus armor, right? Okay, so on top of that, remember that there is a long-term buff as well. So for every trophy collected, you will gain an additional 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor regeneration for 300 seconds. And since the max stacks of the long-term buff is 30, you will basically have an increased 30% weapon damage, skill efficiency, and 3% armor regeneration for 300 seconds, which is basically 5 minutes. Granted, you reach full stacks, of course, right? But just keep in mind that collecting trophies will reset this timer as well. So the Memento backpack is a very powerful exotic piece, but there is a con, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first, let me show you guys the stats as well as the attributes on the rest of the gear pieces. So for the gear pieces, you want to have critical hit damage and chance, right? And for me, once I reach 50% critical hit chance, I start adding critical hit damage. Personally, I feel going over 50% critical hit chance isn't necessary, not really in my opinion, at least with this build, because it already does so much damage, so try to get your critical hit chance to 50% if you can. But if you can't get it that high for whatever reason, 40% works fine, but that's like the bare minimum. So for the weapon, I'm currently using the MP5N, which is a great weapon. However, you do have several options. So if you don't have this weapon, then you can use the MP5ST if you have one, or any of the vectors. The vectors will work fine, but just make sure you can roll the talent close and personal. This talent is great for SMG builds because it will grant you 30% weapon damage for 10 seconds upon killing a target within 7 meters. This works out well because this is a close quarter combat build anyway, but the best weapon to use with this build is actually the Banshee SMG. The Banshee is very well balanced with a decent RPM and weapon damage, and it has great accuracy and stability. So if you have one of these, then I recommend using this. And if you take a look at the stats of both the MP5 and Banshee, the stats on the Banshee are low, but it still has more base damage than the MP5, as well as a higher RPM. 950 is like the sweet spot for an SMG in my opinion. I just went with the MP5 because it has a higher critical hit chance, but I plan on upgrading the Banshee and switching to that soon. For the secondary weapon, I recommend using the Scorpio if you have one. The Scorpio is good for crowd controlling NPCs, and since the Hunter's Fury gear set comes with 15% shotgun damage, this works out well. For the stats on the MP5, 56% critical hit chance and approximately 125% critical hit damage. So keep in mind that this weapon is not upgraded and a few of my pieces still need to be optimized, so this build can be so much better. The only trouble may be getting your hands on this Memento bag if you don't already have one. However, a good alternative is a Sokolov backpack with the Adrenaline Rush talent, because this talent will give you bonus armor, and having 2 pieces of Sokolov will give you an additional 15% critical hit damage. For the weapon specialization, I went with Gunner for the extra 10% armor on kill bonus, since Hunter's Fury already comes with 20% armor on kill, so that bumps it up to 30%. And for the skills, I recommend using the Ballistic Crusader shield because it helps quite a bit. When you're moving around and collecting trophies, the shield can provide you with protection from NPCs. And for the secondary skill, I like using the decoy, but the Reviver Hive is another good option, especially if you like to play solo. Now, one of the cons of using the Memento backpack is having to build up your stacks, which may take time if you are a beginner, but since Hunter's Fury is such a powerful gear set, you will still see great damage. So just make sure you're collecting trophies as much as possible while you're playing. You can even leave some on the ground and collect them when you need the extra armor and damage buff. Hunter's Fury is a great gear set to farm with, and the Memento backpack takes it to another level, so I highly recommend farming for this. Running Countdown with backpacks as your targeted loot is a great option. So there you have it, guys. This is Prajna. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please consider subscribing if you're new to the channel and drop a like. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section and I'll get back to you. In the meantime, keep it cool, keep it classy, and see you in the next video. Peace out.